Welcome to another episode of Enterprise AI Explainer Series. I'm here with Ben Koo, CTO of Box. My name is Meena Ganesh, Senior Product Marketing Manager for AI at Box. Today, we're going to be talking about the latest new acronym in the AI space, MCP. Ben, what is MCP?
So MCP, which is very cool, we're all very excited about it, is a model context protocol. And it comes from Anthropic, but it's not Anthropic specific. It's an open standard. And its job is to make it have a standardized way by which AI agents can use tools.
So standards reminds me of APIs and protocols. Is that a fair analogy?
Yes. So in many cases, so there's this what's a tool, right? Like so tools in an AI agent sense are things that AI can do, and many times they are APIs. They're not strictly required to be APIs, but API is a great way to think about this. Is that anything that where you have an AI agent that wants to kind of look up data or kind of do change on some system, it can then use these tools to go do it. And MCP is a way that facilitates this.
Got it. So if I wanted to set this up myself,
yes,
I would have to make sure that I have one function calling.
Yeah.
With what, like,
so,
how would that even work?
Yeah. So I think you're absolutely going down the right path. Okay. So imagine that you don't have something like MCP. You don't have a standard way to do this. So you're not out of luck because you can absolutely, like, you're an enterprise in this case, and so you're a developer. You have to kind of, if you're going to be building things, like you'd have to have this kind of level of knowledge, which is sort of one of the first challenges. But okay, so let's use a scenario. Imagine that you, for your organization, want to make help sales teams because they're going to go out and they're going to visit customers. And so let's say that they want to get some data. Like some of our salespeople will kind of, like, when they're about to go see a customer, they'll like double check the latest information in the CRM system to make sure that they remember all the details of the deal, when it expires, and so on. Then they'll maybe search the internet to say, like, what's new about this company? What's some news and we could talk about? Make sure that you have the context when you walk in to talk to the customer.
Yeah.
And then you also probably want to do things like, let me look up like my latest meeting notes or some of the presentations we've had recently. Let me remember what we told them or not, like, which might be in your, like, in a system like Box. So in this scenario, it would be 3 different systems, and you would want an AI agent to sort of orchestrate. And so you have to find a way to orchestrate those 3 things. So in the world of AI agent, it can do this, but all you have to do is figure out a way to then go make it talk to each of those systems.
Yeah.
So then you would say, all right, well, I'm going to make a function to call the API for something like your CRM system. And be like, go get the data. And then the internet, you're going to have to, like, figure out how to use an API-based way to search the internet. And then you're going to have to then, for Box, and it's not that hard, but you'll figure out how to use our search APIs. You'll then figure out how to then get the data back and open the stuff, and then do summaries associated with it and so on. So you could do that. And you've always been able to do that when you've been talking about AI agents and tools. But imagine that, that's a decent, large amount of work. AI agents are supposed to save you all this time and do all these great things for you, but now you're spending like a whole development project just to figure out how to get it to do this somewhat straightforward thing.
Yeah, that seems the opposite of what you were promised here.
Yeah, and then also, like, you now have the burden of figuring out these API calls, and they're like, they've got arguments, and it's like detailed, and it's just kind of a pain. Yeah. And then it hopefully nobody changes the APIs, but that happens, especially now with AI. Like, everybody's kind of like making new and better AI APIs, and so you then have a decently large amount of work to maintain these integrations. And it's always been like this in integrations, which is one reason why there's like been this pain in software for so long of, like, maintaining integrations. So that's the before. Mm-hmm. But now with MCP, imagine that all of these companies had MCP servers. So you have an MCP server that your CRM system publishes. Box, we publish an MCP server. Mm-hmm. It tells you exactly how to use Box, and then you find a tool to search the internet via MCP server, something like Tavily or something. Mm-hmm. And so the good news is that all you need to do is basically say to your AI model, here are my MCP servers. And these MCP, the good thing about the model context protocol is that it basically says, this is what I can do, and it describes it to the AI model. Mm-hmm. If you want to search Box, if you need to find files, then this is search, and then here's the search API. If you need to download a file, or if you need to summarize things, or if you need to call our AI agents internally, like you can have AI agents call AI agents as a tool. And then so then in language, it describes to the AI model how it works. And so as you get those 3 MCP servers, and then I remember these AI models are smart. They like program. They're quite good. Right. So they can recognize and understand how to call these APIs. And so then what happens is you want to orchestrate these three things now. You add the three MCP servers, and then you ask your model. You're like, I want to go see a customer. Please get me the most relevant information from these three systems. And then the AI will be like, I realize I don't have that data. I know the MCP server told me that I could go make this API call, and it will make the API call. It'll figure out to go make that API call, get the data, and then say, I don't know the CRM data. And it'll make the API call to go get the CRM data. And so then you, as an enterprise or as a developer, didn't have to program anything because somebody gave you the MCP server, which related the description to the API calls. And then now your AI agents that you orchestrate, you just kind of tell them what to do, and they'll go figure out what to do for you. So this is the beauty of MCP servers. You've made it simpler to build. You've made it less maintenance, because people will be updating their MCP servers. And the fact that all of us in the industry are now creating this to the standard means that you can kind of just realize that if you want to add another step to there, I want to do something different. I want to go do like a data report based on some data system I have. Great, you get an MCP server that then is able to go get your structured data. And so then you now have this great way to have AI agents sort of standard way to go look things up just by basically providing an MCP server. So that's the benefit, and that's why everybody's so excited about these MCP, about MCP in general.
Yeah, no, that sounds really cool. And I think if I were to compare, the before scenario that you laid out versus the after, before it sounded like, these integrations were managed quite statically. Yeah. They were complex, I'm sure in many cases, and intricate. There were nuances, hard to maintain. There's probably an entire layer in the stack dedicated to it, to maintaining that. Versus with MCP now in the picture, we're now moving into a world where these integrations can be a lot more dynamic and not necessarily needing to be managed by a developer team as part of an entire stack, right? Like you just leave it up to the AI agents. Yeah,
and it's really like apart from the name being complex of MCP, it really just helps you think of things as, I now have an AI agent and it uses tools to go do things. And then that just simple way to think about it then helps make you helps you think of new and interesting things that your AI agents can do for you in your enterprise.
And when you were saying that, the agents using tools, and in the past episodes, we've talked about RAG, we've talked about, AI using the right context. Here, the tool is a means to get that additional context in order to complement the RAG and really kick off that flow.
Correct. And in fact, the latest sort of way these days is that everybody, all the agentic systems, including Box, when you start to think about going and get data, then you start to think of a tool to go get it. So you actually kind of implement RAG via tools. And then similarly, it's not just about getting data. Some cases you want to change things. Like you want to actually maybe update the record or create a new file that has that report. Like those kind of things are tools that will then go do something for you. And so with AI agents, you're then able to sort of think through the steps you might want. And then the details of the integrations of those steps of the actions or getting the data just become the MCP server handles that. And then the AI agent figures out how to use those.
That's really amazing. But keeping one of our prior episodes in mind might be scary for enterprises, isn't it? Because if we're talking about RAG, and then we're also talking about this next level, which makes it enterprise grade, secure RAG. And we were saying, okay, if you have a model, if you have an AI assistant, it can check permissions, it's permissions aware, great. But now we're taking it to the next level. We have agents reasoning based on your query, understanding what you want to know, and then going and building these integrations and getting content. How does secure RAG and that whole permissions-aware AI fit into this picture now?
It's a good question. And so the way is that similar to the way we talked about before is that you need to make sure that when you're doing RAG and you're calling these APIs, that you have your platform that is answering this question is aware of your permissions, of your context, which something like Box for unstructured content is very aware. But and then so when we build an MCP servers and when we build the authentication and the authorization around those MCP servers, we then say whatever this agent can do is going to act on behalf of the person who then authorizes to go do this. And so in that case, you then go back to the idea of the RAG is going to only be able to retrieve data that you have access to. So it's operating on your behalf in that case.
So we're really extending the principles of secure RAG all the way up now through agents and throughout this whole this new world with MCP servers and all that.
Yeah, and to the point that we talked about before is as this sort of ecosystem evolves, and it's evolving fairly rapidly, like with everybody supporting MCP, in general, I'd recommend that you have not only companies that support, like we talked about before, like secure RAG, the ability to be user-based, user-aware permissions, but also the ability for you to then support MCP servers, because it'll just save you a lot of work as you're either integrating other tools or you're building something yourself to orchestrate AI agents.
And that's really the TLDR for enterprises looking to learn more about MCPs and how this all ties together.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to yet another episode of Enterprise AI Explainer Series. See you next time.